Myha'la Herrold stars in HBO's freshman drama series Industry as Harper, an incredibly ambitious grad working at the prestigious Pierpoint Bank who goes to some extreme measures to secure a permanent post. I'm David Buchanan with Gold Derby. Myha'la, it's such a pleasure to have you here today. I'm really excited to talk with you because I think Harper is one of the most exciting new characters of the TV season. And we're first introduced to Harper through her interview at Pierpoint Bank, in which he kind of describes the bank and investment banking more generally as a meritocracy. So I'm wondering, what do you think makes Harper so good at her job? And what are the kind of traits that you tap into and draw on when you're trying to play those scenes where she's really thinking strategically?
Mm, that's a great question. I think what makes Harper good at this job and probably why she was hired in the first place is that she's got this incredibly aggressive confidence. And whether it's true or not, she has that sort of tenacity and like commitment to just um getting like money and numbers on paper, I think is what makes her really good at this job. She's also sort of unafraid to make whatever moves are necessary to garner success at the bank. It's a dog eat dog situation, so you have to have that sort of aggressive go-getter attitude, and whether or not it's a true thing, I don't know that she's truly confident, but it's definitely necessary to make it there and also to raise yourself in the ranks.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about some of those extreme measures later on. But one of the other things we first learn about Harper is her really mysterious background, about her brother who's seemingly missing, her twin, but also, her experience in college and not finishing college. How much of that mystery was really useful for you in first discovering and crafting the character, and how much does that inform, just how you play like Harper's day-to-day scenes at work?
Yeah, I think anybody's history informs their present state of being and how they move forward. So it was essential to me to know those details and the show is new and it was developing, so there's still a lot of holes when we started, but to know that she's suffered a tremendous loss and that she has a massive secret that could jeopardize her job um, made playing how desperate she is possible and relatively easy, because if she doesn't make it here, it would feel like a life or death situation. Like she cannot go back to whatever she was doing or being or living before. So the history was really important to influence how she then navigated the bank.
Yeah, absolutely. And that secret kind of comes to light, at least to her mentor and kind of menacing supervisor, Eric, in that fourth episode, Sesh, which is so incredible. It's a great episode, where Harper's also trying to desperately cover up a mistake that she's made, and she almost pulls it off, and she does pull it off. But what was that like to play? Because there's such a physical and emotional toll in that episode. Can you just talk about how you prepare to do something that's so intense, because it really, I mean, as a viewer, you just feel everything that Harper is going through. It's a brilliant performance.
Thank you. It was hard. It was just exhausting because, it's acting, but it's still like you're having a panic attack. Pretending to have a panic attack is still like putting your body through what it sort of feels like. So it was tough. I mean, to be able to go there and then to come out of it to say, okay, we're done at work and I'm gonna go home and like I'm my
Mm.
holla and I don't have to hold on to those things. Like that's definitely a skill I had to and I'm still working on um perfecting, to be able to let go of things that are not reality, like don't take my work home. But I think it was just that episode in particular, it was just like maintaining this um dread, this feeling of like,
Mm.
if I don't fix this, my life is over. When you're in that stage in life, and especially in a situation where like you are trying to prove yourself so that you have a job, it really does feel like life or death. So um, I just had to sort of maintain this inner churning and like um, desperation throughout the whole process, really.
Yeah, and episode ends with a really beautiful scene between you, Harper, and Eric, where there seems to be a real genuine kind of commonality between them that maybe is expressed for the first time. Can you talk about just in general working with Ken Leung, who plays Eric? That episode, I mean, it's so interesting to watch that one and then watch the next one where their relationship changes so drastically. But what was it like to play that really emotional and moving scene opposite Ken?
Working with Ken is one of the greatest joys. He is absolutely one of the people I look up to the most, and he is, just as a person and as somebody to work with, incredibly kind and generous with his spirit and what he gives. But that scene in particular, and the entire relationship really with Harper and Eric, is really rewarding because they do have this strange thing going on where, like, we understand that we're both the underdogs, so we're gonna work together, but nothing in this environment is like pure. It's always used to an advantage of some kind in the workplace, in the bank eventually. So it's a complicated relationship because I think all of these characters are like desperately searching for some kind of personal connection amongst this really sort of like emotionless environment. So I think they're drawn to each other in that way because they're like, we have an understanding that we have a similar background and we have similar ish hurdles to overcome in this environment. But it is also incredibly toxic because they're using each other. They're using this emotional crutch and then use that to their advantage at the bank. So um, it was really rewarding because Ken is a genius and I love him anyway. So I think that also added like a really interesting layer to the characters because we have a relationship, like we care about each other. So it made this weird, like entry level position, an older guy thing going
Mm.
on very strange and complicated. But yeah, it was just a joy because it's super easy to be vulnerable with him and available with him.
Mm.
So that scene in particular was really great because I also think it revealed a lot about Harper because it was like one of the first moments where you realize like she's not just this sort of heartless work crazed maniac. She's doing it for a purpose. It's because she's desperate and she
Mm.
needs to feel like she belongs somewhere. So it's nice to have them connect in that way to reveal that that exists with her and everyone else at the bank, even characters like Eric who've been there forever.
Yeah, I'm sure that vulnerability and especially the relationship you have with Ken was really helpful in doing the scene in the next episode where you have that frightening confrontation and it kind of changes not just the relationship between Harper and Eric, but kind of the trajectory of the rest of the season. And watching that scene in particular, I think reminds the viewer, or certainly me, just how much we've actually seen Harper go through since the beginning of the season. From the pilot with Hari's death to that uncomfortable assault with Nicole in the cab. What is it like for you across 8 episodes to not only kind of, as you were saying earlier, draw on Harper's past history, but she also goes through a lot of terrible stuff just since we've met her from the first episode. And like you were saying, you try not to bring that home with you, but I
Yeah.
have to imagine. I mean, it's been such a roller coaster for Harper over just eight episodes.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, and I mean, like I do this in my own life where like you take the whatever it is until you cannot function anymore. So that scene
Mm.
that you're talking about in particular in the meeting room, where that's sort of like the last straw, and she can know, especially coming from someone who she has this sort of strange admiration for and personal relationship with, this sort of trustful thing, that he then abuses that and crosses the line, and she, because of all these things that she's already like gone through as we've met her, and then the history behind it, it was just a breaking point, and from then on it's like all bets are off, and like she's attempting to maintain this, steely exterior and this like aggressive confidence, but she is so beyond the point of functioning in like a successful way, you know what I mean? It's all of those things together. And then finally one thing happens and she's like come to pieces. And now when she goes on, she behaves really erratically, even more so than before, and is like very vulnerable all the time, which makes her decisions even crazier. So yeah, I think that's like a really pivotal moment in the season where you see her go from confidence to like mania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially as it culminates in her riff reduction in force speech, which Harper can't even, the whole episode we see her practicing. She's obviously thought out exactly what she wants to say. And she really does, of all the grads, have so many accomplishments that she could tout. Um, why do you think it's so important that Harper really just can't even get the words out in the room? And what was that like for you shooting? Because it's one of the most anticipated moments of the whole season that you're waiting for, and it's just so crushing to see Harper not be able to kind of speak for herself.
Yeah. That was sad. I felt bad for her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it was another one of those things where like I knew it was coming. We all knew it was coming, and you just have to do your best to maintain this it's actually a very strange thing to play, to have like an anxiety disordered character
Mm,
who is having sort of like a minor level panic attack for like a month at a time.
mm,
It's a strange, it's interesting to try to find that balance, like where does it really overcome and when is it just sort of sitting at the surface. And in that moment for sure it is blossomed so much that she truly can't even speak, because in
yeah.
so many moments before when she's panicking or she's manic or acting sort of irrational because she's having all this anxiety, she expresses it in doing these like really outlandish behaviors, and she's talking too much. And so then what I was grateful for in the script is that when, like, instead of it being like, now it's exploding and it's the biggest version of what we already seen, because that's not
Mm,
necessarily always true. When it finally hits you like a ton of bricks, you can no longer behave in any way that you've done before. So she literally cannot speak. um,
yeah.
that was a good day, a hard day, but a good day. And I did in fact feel relieved when we were finished shooting it.
I bet. I can't imagine, especially because that whole last episode, even after I mean, I don't know in what sequence you shot the scenes, but even after the riff speech in the episode, Harper makes some very calculating moves with some big ramifications. And there's also that explosive kind of dialogue with Yasmin, who's been Harper's friend at Pierpoint, but also there's a rivalry between them. I talked to Marisa a few days ago, and she said she really thinks that there's mutual admiration between Harper and Yasmin. I'm wondering what do you think Harper sees in Yasmin that she either wants to have for herself or admires about her? And what did you think of the kind of many betrayals that Harper makes at the end of season one to set up what's going to happen in season two?
Yeah, I think Harper and Yasmin are like two ships in the night. They just cannot get on the same page. And I also think that if it were not for Pierpoint, their paths would have never crossed, and they would not be
Yeah.
friends. But they're drawn to each other in this environment because although they behave strikingly different and have a lot of different things happen to them, they're still sort of dealing with a similar set of um, rules, so to speak. They're both young and new women in the workplace attempting to garner some success here with their bosses who are men in this like super male soaked environment.
Mm,
Um, I think why they are so drawn to each other and why they can't like get on the same page is that both of them have these qualities that they both equally respect and resent. Like Harper wishes so badly, I think in a way she would never actually say, that she could walk into the bank and be the woman that people look at and want to talk to and are charmed by. Like Yasmin has this incredible gift to like make people feel comfortable and want to be around her and talk to her. Like that's what she has. And Harper doesn't have that. She's awkward and like weird and only ever wants to talk about work and doesn't exactly make people comfortable. But what Harper has that I think Yasmin desperately also wants is an incredible knack for the job. She's really smart, and once she starts talking, she really gets people's attention. So, you know, the ways that Harper is navigating this is very much by like, look what I have on paper, here's what I can offer you monetarily, and for the business in that way. And Yasmin's got like, I'm a charmer, I can get clients on your side, I'm great at a client dinner. So, you know, both of them want what the other one has. So there's a lot of like, damn, I wish I had that, but also like, I'm so mad that you have that and I don't, which makes it a complicated, a very love-hate situation. But I think that's important because so many women relationships are like that, especially in business. It's very hard to dislike someone without desperately admiring something about them. So I have a lot of respect for that in the script, and I think it's a really well, I was gonna say accurate, but relatable, a very relatable woman relationship in a workplace.
Yeah, totally. And what's it like finding that kind of shifting and ever-changing dynamic with Marisa over the first 8 episodes? What is it like working with her?
Well, Marissa's one of my best friends. I adore her. I absolutely love her. She's amazing, and we spend so much time together. It's interesting because one of the first things we said about going into the second season, we were like, dang, are our characters like gonna talk at all? Are we gonna get to hang out or like work together? What's happening? But working with her is a joy. I've learned so much from her. Like we both come from acting school, like drama program backgrounds. But of course, they're different. Like she studied in the UK and I studied here in the US. So there was a lot technically and like on screen that I learned from just watching her and watching the way she works and in the ways that we worked together. Um, but I and also like I think just personally like we really sort of mirroring our characters. Like we're both young women, new in our own industry. So we were really drawn to each other because we too were facing a lot of the same hurdles or having the same anxieties about how do I handle this new massive responsibility and like how do I do it to the best of my abilities? How do I not let anybody know I'm like completely freaked out and I don't know what I'm doing? So on top of the fact that she's a brilliant actress, it was really nice for us to have each other to lean on while we were shooting. And I think that also, because we're close, created an incredible dynamic in our characters on screen.
That's so great. It's so great to hear. Finally, the show's been renewed for a second season, as we've been kind of alluding to throughout. So congratulations on that. What do you hope to see for Harper in season 2? And what do you already know for Harper that you would not get in trouble for divulging here today?
Well, what I know is she will be back. She will be back better than ever. I mean, what Myha'la hopes for Harper is that she gets some therapy. My God, that's what I hope. Do I know that she will? I have no idea. I really hope she does. But you know, what I am really excited about, which I think is for sure going to happen, is that we're going to learn a little bit more about Harper's history, like in detail. Hopefully, we'll learn a little bit more about her family and filling some holes of why she is the way she is, which I'm super excited about because there's, even as it was going, holes for me. So I feel like I'm going to learn some new things about her as well, which I'm super excited about.
That's great. Congratulations again, Myha'la, on the first season of Industry. And thanks so much for talking to Gold Derby today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.